Hey guys, so happy new year. So yesterday I actually finished top 8 at remote regionals with branded Despia, and so I was actually at table 1 in the final round. My two losses were they finished first and second place respectively, so you know what, I'm okay with that. So this event in itself was using the old ban list, but for me I actually decided to use my list as for post ban list just because it doesn't change all that much for branded Despia anyways, and I also figured it would make for better content if I talked with it, and I did, so it kind of worked out. I did recently bring a branded Despia profile, so I'm just going to be very quick with this one and just maybe make some commentary on whatever changes I made. So I'm also just going to use my phone to record this, obviously, because I'm feeling lazy. It's New Year's, but anyways, let's just get right into it. So we are going to start, of course, with 3 Abas, and again, I'm going to go pretty fast with this one. 3 Aluber. The Tragedy, one thing I do want to make note on for this one is that you don't always have to feel like you have to use its grave effect to add. I mean, most of the time you probably will, but sometimes you already have access to everything you need, and it does have that grave effect where you can like banish it, set a branded spell or trap, right? So sometimes, you know, in case you get interrupted, it may be worthwhile to not use its effect to add right away, so that let's say you have a way to get branded fusion into the grave, you can banish it, set that, and then activate it that way, and so you still have access. So just at the very least keep that in mind. We have the one Quem, double Cortesia. Another thing I want to mention about Cortesia is that it can actually only fusion summon level 8 or higher fusion monsters, so that might potentially come up because, for example, let's say you were trying to make like Mud Dragon or Garura just so you can trigger Loss or trigger Quem. So you actually cannot do that with Cortesia, at least. It does have to be level 8 or higher. Just the usual Shrouded Dragon, one Merc. One kit. So this one, I used to say that this was like the weakest monster in the deck. I mean, I guess maybe it kind of still is, but I actually do like it just because it's recursion ability. Like let's say your Banish Retribution, you can put it back. Brandon Red, getting that again is kind of nice. I mean, you obviously have something like Retribution or Tragedy to get that too, but you kind of want to save that for Branded Fusion anyways. The other thing I like about this is that you can actually add this off of Loss, right? So in some cases, let's say you have Branded Loss and a weighted Cortesia Fusion, but no direct access to Branded Fusion. Obviously, you can always send something like, you know, Serenir and like get the Shrouded Dragon to get Branded Fusion that way, but then you're kind of using your Granule Dump on like a Serenir, and ideally you want to send something like, let's say, you know, Albion Dragon or maybe even Gimmick if you're feeling greedy, and at least off Loss you can add this, and then you can have Branded Fusion, although you do kind of neg because you have to put a card bottom of the deck. The other new addition is Maximus, and shout out to my boy Murat, who of course finished top 8 at Niagara Regionals with Branded Despia as well, and he was playing this. For the longest time, I was never a fan of Maximus, and that was because, especially during summer NAWCQ format, that's when this was really popular. And so back then, you know, Keshira, they had a lot of cards in their extra deck that they can plus off if they send it. You had like Labyrinth, they were more so on the punishment build with like extra deck that can plus Flunder, and of course there were a lot of branded back then in the summer, so I never thought Maximus was very good. It was like high risk back then, but nowadays I actually think it is okay. And we're definitely going to plus way more than any other deck out there with Maximus. And especially off Nadir Servant, I am maxing on that as well. This card becomes really, really strong, especially when you get Ashton Branded Fusion. Nadir Servant on its own now is also incredibly good. It is a dogmatic monster, so you can technically summon off Granule as well. You're probably never doing that unless you really have to put up a wall or something, because it is a big booty at 3k. The other cards, Bestial, Libellion, and Serenir, just the two. It's just kind of pretty standard. The Dark Magician, this is something I've always told myself maybe I need to just finally cut it, just because in terms of its brickiness, but Dragoon came up a lot during the regionals and just in any event, especially going second, pop and burn, that really, really does matter. The one Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, of course. So, you know, it's funny, when you play this card, I feel like you can never really complain about any other toxic win cons in this game. I feel like, you know, I'll be complaining about like Ken, Gen, Hand Loop, and my friends would never have sympathy for me because I Gimmick locked on. And to be honest with you, I deserve that, but, you know, those are the sacrifices you have to make. Just the hand traps, double Ash, and double Imperm, just because they're generic. So one thing with this deck, so it's a 47 card list, and I've been doing a lot of test hands and just kind of recording all the brick hands and just kind of trying to see a common trend. And where most of the brick hands actually happen is with Ash and Imperm, like just the generic, like just hand traps in general. So that is kind of the downside. I think to make it fully, like really consistent, if that's your main priority, you could like cut these hand traps so that you just kind of never, well not never, but have a much lower chance of bricking. But at the same time, you're obviously sacrificing the ability to go second in game 1. And on top of that, not only these slots more so is there to help me with side decking. It's just a lot easier this way with a lot of flex bets. It's 47 in the main. I do have several cards I can at least take out, and just because this deck is very high on the engine space. And then moving on to the spells, nothing special. 3 branded fusion, 3 branded opening, 1 red, 1 lost. Again, all very standard. 3 deployment. As I mentioned, we are maxing out on the 3 Nadir. I should have actually mentioned this when I was talking about Maximus, but in terms of what you would send off Maximus, it basically comes down to 2 of these 3. So first, the main priority is to go for the gimmick lock, at least for me, right? So that means basically you kind of need one of 3 things. Either you have access to Fallen Valaz, you have an access to a Cartesia summon, or in lesser instances, if you hard draw the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, it might also work as well. So let's say if you have access to Fallen of Albaz, that means you would want to send Lulu and Albion, because this gets you access to Cartesia and end phase, which on your opponent's main phase, you can go into Granular, dump Gimmick Nightmare, and this would have set the brand in red. You go into Sanctifier, do it that way. Let's say you already have access to Cartesia summon, in which case then you go with these 2, because this will summon the Quim and end phase, dump that Fallen of Albaz that you have access to, and again, you know, you probably already dumped the Gimmick Nightmare because you already Granular summoned, and then this again is for red. If you hard drew Gimmick and that's it, it kind of depends on your hand at that point, because for example, let's say you go with these 2 essentially, because this will dump the again Clem, dump Albaz. This is branded in red. You could go, if you have a dark monster in hand, you can like make Lobelian, pitch that Gimmick Nightmare, and then go into Sanctifier. So you basically need a way to discard that Gimmick Nightmare. So that's one option. If you don't have access to any of those, then you don't have a Gimmick Lock, at least with this kind of build. So in that case, probably the best one like could be like these 2 to send as a default. Anyways, moving on, I'm actually just playing 1 alert. I know it's a little weird, but just to improve a little bit of consistency. So basically throughout history of my deck building for this, like it has been like, for example, a Talents or like a cross out. Talents is good for the draw, but at the same time not really, because if you get Ash on Branded Fusion, you know, whatever you draw, it doesn't really, like, you're not going to be able to use Branded Fusion that same turn anyways. Like, you really have to draw like Nadir, or like maybe to a lesser extent deployment, and in which case I might as well just max out on the Nadir. When it was cross out, it was also good again because I was maining Impermanent Ash anyways, and those are the 2 hand traps I respect the most. At the same time, there are just hands where you have the cross up but no access to Branded Fusion anyway, so what good does that do? So I decided to kind of sacrifice a bit on that regard, just to improve a little bit on consistency. There are times where this might not be live because you don't have darks, but you know what, this deck has, it requires some discards, so you can always use it for discard fodder as well. Just some other consistency, Foolish, and the Gold Sark 3 Super Poly, one of my favorite cards, and then the Call By, the Double Thrust or the Fusion Duplication play, and then of course Retribution and the Fusion Duplication itself. And onto the extra deck, this hasn't changed at all, so I'm going to go super fast. Double Albion, 1 Lobelian, double Mirror Jade. I actually side one of these out for the Masquerade if that were to come up. 1 Ash Dragon, 1 Sanctifier, 1 Rinbrum, 1 Granular. Oh, actually, fun fact about Rinbrum. When you're going against Fire Kings, they are like whatever beast warrior, like that beast that can come up for Rinbrum with the Fallen of Albaz. Garura, Drago, and Mud Dragon for the Super Poly. Guardian Chimera as usual. Dragoon, my boss monster for the longest time since my Cyber Dragon days. And of course, the 1 Lulu. Okay, so moving on to the side deck, we have the 3rd Ash, just 3 droll. I went against Manidium 3 times. This definitely, I mean, I think I only had it once though, but it was still good, obviously. The 3 Nibs. We are playing the 1 Ido. So basically, this was kind of put in there for Flunder, because obviously Gimmick Puppet Nightmare does not do anything against them. So this card, I did not face against Flunder this regional, but the last remote regional I faced, I had 2 Flunder matchups. I summoned this both times, and it was just FTK, honestly. Like, they cannot out this card without non-engine. I have considered putting in for Labyrinth, but unfortunately, this card is a Fiend, which means if they have access to, like, you know, dumping up Big Labyrinth, or sorry, Big Welcome, and with like a furniture, they can bounce this card. So I haven't actually had the chance to test against Labyrinth yet, but you know, if you have done it, definitely let me know in the comments if it's worthwhile siding. Just the 1 Feather Duster. We are playing double Cosmic Cyclone as well. This is for that Fire King matchup, or more so for Centurion, just to get rid of that field spell, and also Labyrinth in the end phase. Getting rid of whatever trap that they set is also nice. The one thing is that, you know, so again, this event itself was for the previous ban list, but I decided myself to just do it for post ban list. And so because let's say if Sprite kind of makes a comeback, that's why I put Dark Ruler in. At the same time for this event in particular, because it was a prior ban list, not gonna lie, this card was honestly pretty ass. This card was supposed to be a Book of Eclipse, but yeah, it definitely would have been much better. I was kind of kicking myself when I was siding, where I was asking myself, oh, why did I do this? The one Dark Ruler, best partner in crime with the evenly matched, one evenly matched best partner in crime with Dark Ruler. Of course, one thing I should have mentioned with Allure of Darkness is that it's really good going second post side when you know it gives you extra draw power, especially with Shadow Dragon draw as well, just so you can draw into, let's say, like, you know, evenly or Cosmic for that Centurion matchup. We are playing the one there can be only one, because, you know, there can be only one of this post ban list, and it was worthwhile. You know, it's good for like Slender, Labyrinth, and what have you. Masquerade Dragon. So this, I actually did not need it at all for this remote regional, but in other events, it's honestly come out. It puts a lot of pressure. They really lose life points really quickly. So I think it is still worthwhile to put it at least at like a regional level event or higher. So that's it for the side. Alright guys, so that was it for the deck profile. Hopefully that was interesting. Definitely shout out to Stay Weird Gaming for hosting a great remote regionals. Went really smoothly. If you guys are interested in remote regionals, usually it's hosted by the side deck. You should check them out. They're holding one essentially every weekend in like January. You don't have to be in the US to play in those. Like, I'm from Canada. I played against someone from like the UK. Like, it's clearly pretty global. So again, huge thanks to all of you for watching. Big shout out to my wife for recording this video. Shout out to my new son Snorlax. Got him at Costco the other day. I'll recommend that as well. And oh, actually, shout out to my boy Ryan Yu as well. I feel like he's always had faith in me in topping events way more than I would ever have for myself. So I do appreciate that. But anyways, huge thanks to all of you. Happy New Year again, and take care, guys. So you can technically summon Dogmatica Maximus off of Granule. Not that you would ever do that, but it is a big booty on its own, so I guess you can build a wall with it.